Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And I'm excited for today's guest. Wait until you guys meet her because she is so much fun and she's helping change the world. So you can't get much better than that. Anyway, her name is Ana Lennyr. Let's bring her on. Hello, Ana. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for inviting me. I love your show.
I'm excited to have you here. As I mentioned, you're so much fun, but I didn't say anything else about you. So I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Yes. I am an antidepressant expert and a life strategist, and many people consider me a happy person, not knowing that I suffered 27 years from depression and I was suicidal at the age of 19. So it's super funny when my clients tell me, it's like, you're the happiest person we ever met. I'm like, you realize I'm your depression coach, right? And this is pathetic.
Well, I love that because you give hope automatically. There's hope. If you can do it, other people can too, because, that's just the nature of things. So how long have you been a coach?
So I have been a life strategist for a few good years now. I have overcame depression 7 years ago, and I was thrown into this by my mentors who said that I am a perfect candidate to reverse engineer the formula to get people out of depression. Okay. As a subject myself, right? As a child in depression, as a teenager suicidal, as a young adult, and also as a parent who was depressed and almost got my child into depression. So I was the perfect subject for them to experiment to see if they can help me. And today I am the perfect person to get people out of this space, which is dark. It's a very dark space.
I want to start really basic today because, depression is one of those words that a lot of people just kind of throw around a little bit without really understanding the significance of it. Because, I definitely dealt with depression in my life, and my significant other at the time had no understanding of what it was and he just thought, I can't speak for him. I'm just going to say, like, he was super confused about what was going on with me. So would you mind letting us know a little bit about what it looks like and what it is?
Depression is deep, heavy, and unresolved emotional wounding. And because of that, and because it is mislabeled as a mental illness, people think that there is something wrong with them. There are people on this planet, exactly like your significant other, that cannot fall into depression. And they have a specific set of skills. I call them skills that insulate you from depression. And they can never slip into it. Or if they do, it's a very short period of time and they can get themselves out. Other people, like myself, for example, they do not have those skills and they have to learn them, because otherwise, every time when they're going to try to get out, they're going to get back in. Try to get out, get back in. And it's just a roller coaster. This is why most people even quit on themselves to try to get out, because they know it's for a short period of time. And it is for a shorter period of time if you don't have the right skills, if you don't have the right strategy.
No, that's really important too, because I know anybody who's watching who suffers from depression or has dealt, like dealing with it with somebody else, when you're in it, the last thing you want to do is anything. So how did you, go from, because 27 years is a long time to be in that space, that mental space. You must have built some new neural pathways and basically rebuilt your brain,
So, no, actually, I did that. It took about 7 months to rebuild everything after 27 years of suffering. I tell people the easiest thing in the world is to get out of depression compared to how much suffering you've been through. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. But to get to that point, to make the decision, you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. For me, at the age of 38, I was diagnosed with the same illness my mom died from overnight at the age of 55. Oh, except that I had an 8.5-year-old kid at home. And I said, okay, if I die overnight from a condition connected to depression as a single mom, where is my kid going to go? And that, brought me in a way to my knees, because I studied psychologist over 22 years ago. I graduated from the University of Psychology and I had no skills.
Mm.
I tried to overcome depression with mindfulness and meditation and losing weight and things like that. That did not work. It was a very short-lived out of depression period, right?
Mhm.
So I have tried everything, and I had to come to a moment of truth when I had to acknowledge that everything I knew about life was about how to suffer. I knew nothing about living. And the moment when I came to that truth, I looked for help. I
Mhm.
found the help, and I succeeded to get out in 7 months. And today we have programs even faster than that, because now we reverse engineer exactly the formula and exactly what helps. But you have to come to a realization that everything you tried, it didn't work, and you
Mhm.
truly don't know how to get out. And all you need is guidance, because I don't get you out. I show you how to get yourself out.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
you have to be willing to open your mind, because if you think that therapy for 20 years is going to get you out of depression, well, go to therapy for 20 years instead of fixing it in 7 months, right? So it is a matter of mindset. It is a matter of growth mindset, exactly like all the time you're talking about it, right?
Mhm.
And it's a growth, like, listen, it's time to acknowledge that I cannot do it by myself, that I need the right directions. That's all I need. I still have it in me to get out. I still have the answers inside me. I just need a little bit of guidance from that cloud, dark cloud, where I don't see the direction.
Something that I mean, asking for help can be so difficult when you're in that space, but it's also so simple. And it's one of those catch-22 kind of things. But something that, just keeps popping into my head, I feel the need to ask is, now that you are through that and you haven't basically looked back in the sense that you're stuck in that headspace anymore, are there times or signs that you can stop yourself before it goes down that path again? Or what does that look like? Or is it always
So,
happening?
so once you let go of a pain in very specific strategies and techniques, and I did not know that pain is removable. Okay, that's the first thing I did not know in my life, that you can actually get rid of a pain that you feel in your heart. Very simple,
Mhm.
right? So once you get rid of that, you need specific skills, like exactly the skills we talked about to insulate you from depression. And the reason you need those is because you, as a shell of suffering, you you want to suffer, you're addicted to it
Mhm.
unconsciously. And when you get rid of your own pain, it's very simple to take somebody else's pain over, right? It's like but a relative, a friend, a neighbor, right? So here we also provide you with right strategies to see the pain in others and to stop it. Said, okay, this person is in pain. I
Mhm.
was in a similar pain, but guess what? This is not mine. And here we're talking about, maybe you want to call them boundaries, maybe you can't call them borders. But here is the responsibility you have for yourself, because now you have all the data. Now you have all the skills, all the strategies. It's all up to you. There is nobody else to blame.
Radical acceptance.
Exactly.
you know,
And responsibility, radical responsibility for the way you
Exactly.
feel.
Well, yes, that's a better choice of words, the responsibility. I like that though. I mean, it can be intimidating, but also you're in charge then. So you don't have to wait on somebody else. It can be
There
all
is no more excuse. You
yeah.
received everything in your arms. If you want to go back to hell, yes, it is a choice. But why would you want to do that, right? Especially when you see so many people hurt out there at
Mhm.
different levels of pain.
Yeah, there are definitely different levels of pain. And I think that that's interesting because I have a question too, because you mentioned therapy and I don't know how I feel about therapy. I know it's helped me in the past, but it didn't really help me with depression. So it's kind of like poking the wound over and over and over again. I didn't really understand the point in that. But the thing is do you think there's a place for it as well, as in like in conjunction with, or just like a safe place to talk? What are your personal thoughts?
So when you rely on complaining to solve your problem at the complaint department, you're going to wake up and the problem is not being solved. Okay. I keep telling everybody, no amount of talking ever solved the problem.
Yeah.
No amount of talking is doing the job that you are owning, right? You have to do the doing. You have to get involved. And this is extremely important as we have parents that we work with who have depressed teenagers and depressed suicidal young adults, right? And I keep telling them, don't throw a kid to some kind of therapist. The first thing they're going to think about it is, my parent abandons me, doesn't understand me anyway, right? It just wants me to just go get fixed. It's like there is something wrong with me, like there is a problem that I have, right? Here, learn how to get your own child out, because we provide these strategies, right? So take responsibility for a problem that it's in common. It's not only your child problem, it's a family problem. And we talk about all the time about how important it is to build amazing family relationships. Wherever kid comes to you, you are the role model, right? Even if you don't know everything, you can say, listen, I don't know everything about this subject. I know a little bit, but I know an expert. Let's go learn together.
I like that. And then they feel loved, heard, and seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to pop up your website real quick too. I mean, we're going to do this again later just for everybody who's watching. But what can people find when they come and visit you here?
Everything is for free. Okay. People in depression, they're afraid of being sold. They're afraid of being scammed. They're afraid of a lot of things, because anxiety is one of the symptoms of depression. So they're afraid of everything. So on this website, we have free courses for exactly the secret map to overcome depression for adults. We have a specific course for free for how to help your child out of depression. If you have a child, if you're a parent, if your child is depressed, if not, totally fine, right? We also have free workshops about healthy relationship formula and how to understand true love secrets. Because if you don't understand yourself and others, you're always going to feel attacked by others. You're going to always feel hurt, and you're going to slip in that, heartbreak and depression mode and things like that. And we also have a free workshop called Parenting Teenager Secrets, where we show you secrets to have your child as your accountability partner on both ways, to work with them, to be the role model, but to also be able to understand your child, even if, maybe it's hard to understand, why is my kid in pain? Why is angry? Why is disobedient? Why is disrespectful when I give them everything, right? It's because they scream for help. They want specific things and they don't know how to express that. So it's where we explain exactly what each child, each difficult child, its own scream is for help, and how you can help them. And you're just going to increase that bond between you and your kid and build an amazing family relationship.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And, speaking of kids, it's something you said that I thought I really want to circle back around to, is you mentioned that you almost brought your child into depression as well. Is it just, what did you mean by that? Because I think a lot of other people need to hear this.
Yes. So when a child sees the parent depressed, sad, okay, not being able to smile, having a hard life, their first tendency is to save them. So one of the reasons why I slipped in depression is because my mom was depressed and she was an alcoholic. She was also a very famous teacher in town at that time, and that it was conflict into my brain. Should I be ashamed that I have a mother alcoholic, or should I be proud of having a mother so educated? And that conflict brings this emotional wounding and puts you in depression and nails you. And all my life, until the moment she died, the only thing I wanted was to save her. I didn't go to university to save myself because I was suicidal. I went to save her. Okay. Everything I did was for her, like being the best student, like doing everything perfect. It was all for her, hoping that I am enough for her so she will stop drinking, not understanding that she is actually hurt. So a lot of times the children will take this role of trying to save you, in the same time trying to run away from your pain without knowing how. And they slip into this conflict. And this is why depression is a lot of times a generational condition. And it is not genetic, which means that each generation can stop it. And this is what's amazing about it.
It is. And I swear you were describing me as me and my mom. I'm like, wait a second, that sounds so familiar. That's fascinating. Something that I was thinking about is the way that you just described your wound, the way you described how you came to deal with your own situation and how, like, your life, how you responded to it, makes me wonder, because you said that you were able to solve your own depression in 7 months, but it doesn't sound like you did any talk therapy either. But what you said sounded really deep and well thought out. Like, that took, it sounded like a deep dive. Did you do anything like that? Or is it just something that you figured out when you felt better? I'm just curious how that worked.
So there is a little trick. Okay. When you are in that deepness of not being able to help yourself, you cannot get out by yourself. You think you can because you have all the mental capacity and intelligence to do it, but you cannot because you don't see the way. So I actually had 4 mentors that they were not antidepressant experts. They were just throwing stuff at me to see what sticks, trying to help me. Right. And at the end of it, they even acknowledge it. It's like, you should do this job. I'm like, why? Because you know what it is. Like, didn't you help me? Why you don't do? No. We didn't know how to help you. We just threw everything we had at you and see what sticks. Right. So I'm like, this is why I spent $320,000 for. Hold on a second. Okay. But the whole idea here is that a lot of times, people that haven't been in this condition, like I have, they don't know what works, and they will try to get you out. And in my case, they succeeded. They actually succeeded to get me out. And then at the end of it, I had to think about what actually worked and what did not work. Right? Because not everything they threw at me worked. There were some unuseful things that I was doing. Okay. Nevertheless, I was not there to comment and anything like that because, listen, I don't know any better anyway. Right. So now what I did is put together everything that works from them, plus what else, it brought me from this journey to make sure that nobody ever slips back into this condition once they're out, because this is their biggest fear. I'll get out, and then at one day I'm going to slip back.
Exactly. So that is the biggest fear.
Mechanisms in place so you cannot slip back, because now you are the one responsible. You have all the tools, right? So if you want to, mix a pan that's hot with a tool, it is your choice. If you want to mix it with your finger, it's also your choice. Right? So now you have a choice. So you better not make the wrong one, right? But if you don't have a tool, you do not know how to mix a hot pan, right? You don't have a choice, right? So now we give people, I call it, no more excuses, only choices.
I really like that because it speaks into the possibility as opposed to the problem. So it really gets you to focus on that there are choices, because I know that when in depression, it feels like there's nothing.
You can't see anything. A lot of clients come to me and said, I know nothing about life. Like, I know. You just have to be willing to relearn everything.
That's amazing. I am so blown away by you and just your joy. I mean, it just radiates from you. It's so natural. And I like that, here's a personal question, actually. I'm going to guess, and tell me if I'm wrong, that a lot of people have a hard time believing that you were ever depressed.
Unless they see the pictures that I had before.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And it doesn't matter if they believe or not.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
They have to believe that they can.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, something, and one person did it before you,
mm-hmm.
you can do it too. And if nobody did it before you, you can be the first.
And it seems impossible until you do it. So no matter what.
Because you don't even know what happiness looks like. I remember the first time I went to my mentors, I said, listen, I want to show my kid that I can live 1 week happy before I die. And they'll ask me, how old are you? I'm 38. How old are you? I'm 38. You're talking like an 83-year-old woman. I said, I am? I'm like, yeah, relax. You're going to be happier way longer than a week before you die. Right? So these kind of things that you don't even believe they exist for you. But if you don't believe they exist for you and you have a child, you have to do it, at least for your child, if not for yourself.
Exactly. The thing too, and this is like a little bit personal thing about me, is my mom was an alcoholic and I drank like an alcoholic. I quit a long time ago, but I swear I never would. That I didn't have the skills to deal with my feelings and my everything. But it's kind of like there's a saying in the addiction realm where you have to do it for yourself. But sometimes, like for me, there was days where I wasn't enough to do it for me. So it was like I had to pick somebody or another reason outside of myself. Like, I don't have any kids, but if I had a kid, that would be a good enough reason for me to get up and do the work until I got better. And then Now it's different. But, for a long time, it's like, I love the idea of using what you have so that you can make, your situation better, whatever it takes.
Because the first thing that people who suffer a lot that they do is quitting on themselves very easily.
Exactly.
Very easily.
It is. No, that's okay. On that note, we are actually going to go to commercial break because I figured that's, kind of a saddish note, but it's what we're talking about. So we're going to come back right after these messages. Okay, Anna? All right. For those of you who are watching us live, thank you for being here. As I mentioned, it is commercial time. So we will be right back after these messages.
Are you someone who is struggling to move forward because you suffered a loss? Maybe you're even finding it difficult to complete the most basic tasks. Are you looking for a way to start enjoying life again without feeling guilty or the resistance to do so? Spiritual life coach Sarah Stockham saw a need for people who haven't learned how to grieve without putting their entire lives on pause. And so she created a program that solves this issue called Choosing Life Right Now. This program is simple and you can do it on your own. If you are ready to learn how to feel your grief while still being able to smile, to honor the sacredness of what took place as a loss, and yet still continue to live with joy, and if you'd like to take care of your whole being with grace and love, then I'd like to invite you to experience her new program called Choosing Life Right Now. Sarah is currently offering her program for the promotional price of $77, but it won't stay at this price for long. To learn more, check out her website. The address is on the screen.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer. I am the host of Own Your Wellness, and today's special guest is Ana Lennyr. Let's bring her back on. Welcome back.
Did you miss me?
I did, actually. I didn't even realize before our conversation that I was going to enjoy it so thoroughly. You know, it's just it can be such a heavy topic, but the way that you speak about it, there's a lightness to it. So I just enjoy, you bring a hope that maybe some of these people watching haven't had. So I really appreciate you being here today and sort of, making it a little lighter of a load for somebody today. So that's really amazing. Something that I was thinking about during the commercial break that I'd love to ask you about is, you've had a lot of your own mentors and coaching, and you as well, coach. Is there, and I don't ask this to every guest, but is there a way that you start your morning to maybe prepare your day or your mind, because was it Tony Robbins does the prep your mind thing? I don't remember exactly what he calls it, but I'm just curious what that looks like for you, if at all.
So the way that I live right now is exactly, I would say, in the wind of the universe. Okay. Okay. So I get stirred into the direction where I need to be. Yes, sometimes I have to travel for suicidal teenagers. Sometimes, we're talking about different programs. Like today, we were talking about opening an entire institute with these kind of lessons, right, with my team. So it's all about where the wind blows, right? Let's say that, today I have a couple of podcasts and I have a couple of clients, and at some point, one of them asks a question. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that you need an entire set of videos about that. Right? So it's like, hold on a second, let's record it, okay? Just to make it more accessible to everybody, right? So I am growing with my clients, okay, which is almost 1,000 that we get out by now, and we have almost 200 in queue right now. I'm growing with them. And just to give you an example, for example, in December, when I got off a stage with JD Fox and Jillian Michaels and Jesse Cole, an uncle of a 6-year-old approached me, and the 6-year-old was depressed since the age of 4. So we actually opened a branch immediately. By January, nobody slept, nobody spent time on holidays, nothing like that, for prevention of anxiety and depression for teenagers and young adults, instead of fixing it, which takes longer. So here we are growing at the same pace with what universe asks from us, if that makes sense.
Beautiful. No, that is absolutely beautiful. It makes me think of Michael Singer, his book, The Surrender Experiment. His whole life, he just spends wherever the wind takes me, and it's pretty amazing. Not a lot of people have the courage to do that. So I admire you for that. Something that you just said that I think is worth mentioning is you're talking about prevention as opposed to, dealing with it after it happens. What are some things that parents and even maybe teachers can do?
So it's more like the parents, because the parents have more influence over their children, right? And what we have noticed is that we always say master the game of life, or teach your child how to master the game of life. And most parents do not know what that means, or how to master the game of life, right? So here we teach them the skills, exactly the skills we talked about, to insulate from depression, right? To make sure that, heartbreak, anxiety, depression never happens to your child, period. Not, it doesn't happen right now. It doesn't happen, period, right? So we teach them relationship skills, emotional skills, mindset skills, right? And these are the prevention skills that keep you from being hurt, right? Because if you have amazing family relationship, if you have great relationship, if you don't get hurt, if you don't consider that somebody comes to attack you on purpose and to hurt you on purpose, then you will not be emotionally imbalanced. You will not believe that there is something wrong with you at some point in time, right? So you see it all triggers between these things, right? So here we teach parents a lot of times how to teach this to your children, how to open the conversation. Be honest. Listen, Anna says that, failure is feedback of everything that doesn't work. I don't understand what this means. Can you explain it to me? Right? Do you see how now you have a conversation just by playing stupid? Right? But you have conversation useful, that they teach children something about life and about the fact that they shouldn't be afraid of failure, because it only gives you the feedback what it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that there is not a solution out there, right? So these kind of discussions that you have to bring in, not just like, oh, you shouldn't feel this way, you have everything you need, why are you sad? It doesn't help anybody.
No. In fact, it's as somebody who's heard those things as a kid and even as an adult, it's like, man, what's wrong with me? Because why aren't I happy?
Exactly. Makes you feel more guilty.
Exactly.
Right? It makes you feel more guilty. I have everything and I'm happy, and there are kids that don't have anything to eat and they're happy. Like, how is this working out, right? So here we teach parents how to open conversation, how to teach their own children. Maybe they know these kind of skills, or they heard about it, or but maybe they don't know how to express it. They don't know how to communicate it, right?
Yeah.
So then you're just having a conversation on nothing. When you have a conversation on nothing, the child will not trust you. And this is exactly why we don't take children under the age of 25, because I want the parent to be a role model, not to come to me and says, oh, Anna's got it, Anna's very smart, and my parent is stupid. That's not going to help your family relationship.
No, I think that's beautiful too, because like you said, it's a family issue. It's not just a one person on an island by themselves. It feels like it when you're that person, but it's not the actual case. And there's everybody around you. So why not build that up? Because ultimately, at least, and I can only speak for myself as a person, is that, I crave connection. I crave that family dynamic. That's, part of what I need for my tribe, as they say. I that's kind of what keeps me happy, those connections. So
exactly. Yeah. And the child before the age of 26, when they turn into real adults, because they're not adults at 18, come on, let's face it, okay, they're trying their best, but that doesn't mean they succeed, right? Okay, needs to have a trust in the parent, not a crutch on outside to rely on. This is why I tell people, don't send your kids to therapy. It's just another crutch. Don't give them pills. It's just another crutch. Next time they're going to find a crutch in somebody that pretends to love them, and it's going to be a narcissist, or it's going to be a verbally abusive guy, or it's going to be a gang member, or it's going to be alcohol, or it's going to be drugs. Okay. So don't teach your child to have to look outside the family for crutches. Sooner or later, he's going to, or her is going to be hurt. Here, learn in the same time with your child, so they can come to you and trust you and say, do you know about this thing? Like, I know it just a little bit, but we can learn together. No, and the kid next time is going to come back to you. How about this thing? Do you know a little bit about it? A little bit. Let's go together. Oh, I know more about this one. Oh, really? Okay, my parent is very bright. Okay. And this is it, because you don't want to have a conflict between I love my parent, but my parent is an
Mhm.
idiot,
Yeah.
right? I love my parent, but my parent cannot help me. I love my parent, but I'm ashamed of my parent because of this and that and the other, right? So you
Mhm.
don't want this conflict. You want what we call true relationship. And true stands for TRUE, trust, respect, understanding, and evolving.
Ooh, I love that. That's beautiful. Oh, I like that. I love anything that is true, whether true, whether it's the acronym or the actual everything that's involved with it. Something that I feel like I'm hearing you say is that we're teaching the kids to be, well, self-sufficient, but also learn how to ask for help from trusted adults, or trusted people in their lives, and that's who their parents should be. I mean, obviously if they're coming to you, that's what they want to be, so
Yes.
yeah.
And then later on, when they become adults, they're going to look up for people higher
Mhm.
up, right? That they make them grow because they're used to a growth level. We as
Exactly.
parents, we don't grow so fast of our kids as our kids. Let's face it, right?
Mhm.
We don't like to learn so fast, right? Or to grow so fast because we're just already in a comfortable area, right? But if we teach them together how to grow, then at some point they're going to be fine by themselves. We have to understand that if you don't grow, you die. And this
Mhm.
is exactly what happens in depression. You die every day from the inside.
That's a really good point, because it's true. If you're not, although you can be alive without living. That's what I was trying to say. Be alive
Yeah.
without living, which is like death, because you're just, taking up space in your body, waiting for the next day. That's such a awful place to be. But I just love the idea of, creating that family dynamic where you're growing together and you're teaching your child that growth mindset.
Exactly, exactly. And then they're going to be just fine by themselves, right?
Mhm.
Just
Which is
fine by
the
themselves.
goal.
And for example, when a parent is hurt,
Mhm.
right? Like, for example, they were our mothers, right? They actually taught us codependency by mistake,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
here we make sure the parent is not hurt, is growing with a kid, is understanding, involving with them, right? It's based on self-respect, self-trust between yourselves and the others, right? And here is that's when it's time to let the child go. You let them go, but you let them go with a trust that they have all the skills and strategies to
Mhm.
succeed, to be happy, not to slip back into some kind of trap.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned something about there being skills that, can keep you from slipping back into that. What's something that, you know, maybe somebody that is afraid of slipping back into depression, what's something that they could do, or is a skill?
Mastering relationships is key, is absolutely key. There are four types of men, four types of women in the world. We call them the four men and women archetypes. You need to know who you are and who the people around you are and how you attract what you're missing. Not somebody who hurts
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You attract the archetype you're missing because you have to learn from it. Right. So
Yeah.
that's major. Also, how to deal with anger, anxiety, and worry. These are very simple things, but also how to use specific techniques if you feel shame,
Mhm.
guilt, if you are blaming others, if you feel heartbroken, or if you're just stuck in your way, stubborn, thinking that this is the only way on planet Earth, there is some kind of injustice happens, right? How to not slip into these emotional wounds, we call them.
Mhm.
That if you have three of them, you're depressed. If you have five, you're already suicidal,
Oh,
right?
wow.
This is how bad it is. And the third set of skills is actually the traps, the 17 mind traps that keep people in suffering. Make sure you don't slip in them. And this is where specifically for a parent and a child, the
Mhm.
accountability partnership comes into play because you're slipping into these traps without knowing. But when you have a kid that, listen, if I slip into it, you pay attention to me. And if you slip into it, I pay attention to you. Let's work together as partners. You are evolving together.
And there's that dynamic of, I don't know, accountability and friendship that will grow from that as well, that I love, because I know that when I was a kid, it was like, I thought I was an adult and I would have loved for my parents to treat me a little bit more like an equal partner. Uh, so I like that idea because it gives like the sense that they're important to you, that the child is important to you as
Yes.
well.
Yes, and the child is important to you.
Mhm.
As long as it doesn't matter how busy you are, and doesn't matter how much you have to work. Okay, the first relationship course is we have a relationship transformation between the teenager and parent is 3.5 hours. I mean, come on, who doesn't have 3.5 hours in small video increments of 5 to 10 minutes? Even in your lunch break, you can swallow 3 or 4 of those, right?
Mhm.
Very easily, right? Who doesn't have this amount of time for their child? And the truth is that most parents will give their life for the child. Very
Mhm.
simple, okay? Probably about 99.9% of the parents will do that. But they just don't know how to deal with it, how to help them. You don't have to give your life for it, okay? It's just a few hours of your time. But they just don't know the strategy. They don't know the system. And they feel guilty that they cannot help their children.
Mm-hmm. Well, I keep thinking too, it's kind of like when the lights are off in the room and you see the coat stand in the corner, it looks like this big monster. It's like you just don't even want to do anything because it looks so intimidating. But if you just turn on the lights and you learn the skills, all of a sudden that monster turns back into a coat.
And the monster is going to be a nice puppy.
Exactly. All of a sudden it's not that bad.
Exactly. So these are little things that sometimes we go by society, right? Call it by fashion, right? So it's very fashionable right now to send your kid to therapy, to send your kid to take some meds. Okay.
Yep.
This tells the kid that they have a problem. It tells the kid that there is something wrong with them. This is not quite the right approach. When you are the one taking into your hands, okay, to fix the problem, then it becomes a common problem, and a common problem that it's fixable.
So I'm assuming that this would really help with bullying, because I know that that's a huge thing right now, bullying. I mean, not that it ever hasn't been, but now with social media and everything else, it's just, I don't know that I would have survived if I'd grown up in this day and age because of social media. And just, I mean,
Bullying has to do with two emotional wounds of depression. Has to do with, one of them is humiliation, and the bully has to do with abandonment. So the bully feels abandoned and it's angry, while the child being bullied feels humiliated, embarrassed, and feels guilty about something. A lot of times has to do with a family, like poverty, like all kind of things, right? So here we show both type of parents, because don't you think that they're not coming to me, there's like, my child bullies another, what am I doing, right? Show them how to maneuver through this emotional wounding, how to maneuver through this pain to annihilate it, and then bullying doesn't happen, period.
Exactly, because you change how you're showing up in the world, it's going to change the outside world as well, too. And I love this idea, too, of having these skills. It's not that your problems go away. It's just that now you can handle them in a healthy way and deal with these emotions that are there instead of it taking you out of the game of life.
Exactly. And instead of shoving it down and pretend that they don't happen, and at some point they will explode, right? So here we are transmuting the pain. We're seeing it from a different perspective, and we're changing it into serenity instead of reactivity.
Yeah. No, I like that. So for the parents that are out there that are dealing with a child or a teenager that maybe isn't talking to them, what are some signs that they should be looking for that their child needs help?
So if they're done talking to you, they're slipping in depression, okay? Because that's that you have noticed already people in depression that they withdrawn, right? They isolate themselves, and they isolate themselves because healing is done in isolation. But if you don't have guidance, you lose yourself, right? So it is done in isolation, but you also have to have the right guidance. So be very mindful. I don't want to scare people or things like that, but I talk on public stages about this all the time. Every 40 seconds, somebody kills themselves on this planet. And that's not because they're happy. So be very, very mindful. Okay. And it's not a good answer if you have a girl or a boy, because more girls commit suicide. Nevertheless, they fail because they're too emotional. Less boy commit suicide, but more of them succeed. More of them actually die because they're very strategic in how to do it. So here, when the child goes inwards, we have a problem. I would prefer the child to have anxiety, to be angry, to be disrespectful, to scream at you. I can fix that easily instead of pretending that nothing happens. I was just a quiet child. That's more dangerous.
That would be. No, I I think that that's really important too, because a lot of times, a lot of people, when it comes to loved ones, it's almost like they don't want to see it because they're afraid to see it. But if you don't look at it and address the situation, then how are you going to help?
Exactly. And a lot of them, we have all this, I'm hoping it's going to be all fine. Listen, get some strategies under your belt, okay? And don't leave your life to hope.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to probably get hurt 99% of the times. Yes, maybe there's some people lucky, okay, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to find that luck, right? The same with your love life, the same with your emotional balance, the same with your mindset, the same with your kids, the same with your work. Maybe you got lucky to have a good job, or maybe you worked your behind up to get there, right? So get some skills under your belt to be prepared. And a lot of times what we do, we prepare the parent for the challenge that's coming, or we prepare the child for the challenge that's coming. Everybody, that's not going to happen. Listen, if it happens, you know what to do, what to say, how to approach it. I give you already the solution. So you don't have to pay, to end up with anxiety or anger or to freak out when the challenge happens, because I already gave you the solution.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I I really like that a lot. And I also want to put this up again. So you have a lot of resources on your page. And if people want to work with you as well, what's the process look like?
So first of all, I would like them to either go through a free course or to go through a free workshop where I usually have them live. Okay. Or at least if they have a specific question, a really fast question, you can actually text us on this website, your name, your email, and your question. And I usually make 5 either audio or videos, and I send it by email to you, right? It's all for free. I just want to make sure that people don't make mistakes. And there are even 4 videos of major mistakes that I see all the time being done over and over again. And if you are truly committed, and if I see that you are committed to solve a problem like this, which is not, sometimes it takes 6 weeks, but sometimes it takes 6 months, depending on how big the problem is, right? If I see you committed, and I see you that you're showing up and you're interested, I will take you in. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste time or your money or anything like that to take in people who are not ready or who believe that there is another solution out there. Sometimes you need to convince yourself that nothing works to go and ask for help. What works, exactly like I did. Right? So if I see you committed, if I see you really engage in what you want to do this, we will reach out, or you can see us on our live websites, workshops, and we can talk about it, right? Or you can even text us. I really, really want to communicate. I really want to reach out, and we'll send you a link. But I want to see engagement, not excuses.
I think that that's a really wonderful and beautiful point. My boyfriend and I both are personal trainers, and I'm a nutrition coach as well. And he does some coaching with nutrition, but we both have this saying that we love: we'll meet you at the same level of commitment that you show up for yourself with. And that's the thing that I'm hearing you say is, you would love to help everyone, but they've got to help themselves. You're just there to guide them and show them the blueprint.
Exactly.
And, you don't want to be another excuse in their mind as to why it didn't work, or, because that will happen if they're not willing to do it.
Exactly, exactly. And we had a lot of clients who showed up every time at every workshop. We did all the courses, finished up, texted us, and we reached out because we saw them showing up for themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I just want to make sure that I just reiterate how beautiful that point is, because there's so many people and coaches out there that will just try and, I would love to think that everybody is coming from a good place. So let's just assume that that's the case. That they'll just try and help everyone. But what I'm hearing you say is that it's really important for you to help people, and you're willing to do that. But they've got to be able to help themselves, because it's like teaching somebody how to fish, as they say.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you see, if I take too many clients at once, I will not have time for the ones that are really, really need help, right? So
Exactly.
here I have to also make a distinction, right? We also have to, maybe we call it testing people, and maybe that's offensive, but you know something? We need to have a reason to work with you too, not only your reason to work with us.
Exactly. There's just so many people that hire a coach hoping that the coach is going to do it for them somehow. And it doesn't work like that with anything.
No, unfortunately, there is some work to be done. But the good thing about it, my dear, is that you don't have to work on it for your entire life to solve this one problem. Okay. But it looks very complicated. But the most complicated problems have very simple solutions, right? So you only doing it once and then you got it. You don't have to do it over and over and over again. It's not that exhausting compared to when you're hurt and in pain, which is day over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Right? So this is the comparison that I say, and I tell people all the time, the easiest thing in the world is to overcome depression compared to how much you have suffered.
That's a beautiful thing to hear and say, because there's just so many people that haven't looked at it quite like that. And so I like this idea of a different perception and being like, I can do this.
Exactly.
Well, Anna, that is all the time that we have for today. I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience, strength, and hope. It has been absolutely wonderful. And I just appreciate everything that you're bringing into the world and offering people so that they can help themselves.
Thank you, Julie. I love you too.
Thanks. Bye. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. So we do have to go, but go check out the website, grab some of those free tools. It will make a difference in your life. And we will see you again later this week. Bye, everyone.